Swayam Prabha. Digital India. Educated India.
Hello and welcome back to Data Analysis and Interpretation course. In this session, we are going to look into a demonstration or an example of Markov's inequality. Let us see what is the Markov's inequality. The statement is that let x be a positive random variable and let a be any positive number, then probability that x takes on value larger than or equal to a is smaller than the ratio of expected value of x and a. Let us see how are we going to proceed. So we are going to demonstrate this Markov's inequality on students' height data that has been collected in the class. The random variable we are considering it is a height of adult male and female in India. The expected value of x is roughly 169 centimeter. Now let me comment on this. Generally, when you consider the data, it is considered only for the male or only for the female because they have a different distribution pattern. But in our classroom, we have collected the data anonymously, so we cannot really differentiate whether which height belongs to male and which height belongs to female. Therefore, I have taken a mixed data. And when you take a mixed data, from internet, you can get an expected value, that is generally the average height of Indian male or female. You have two different numbers. So I have taken those from internet. I have taken the ratio of how many males and females are there in our classroom. And based on that, I have taken something like a weighted average and arrived roughly to this number 169 centimeters. So it is not such a bad estimate for an expected value of height of adult male and female in India. As I said, we are going to consider the data on height collected from the class. Now, we will calculate probability of height greater than or equal to a given value A by taking a ratio of number of times the height exceeds the value of A divided by total number of data. This is a basic definition of probability and we are going to follow that. And we would like to see if this probability turns out to be smaller than or equal to expected value of x divided by A. And we will see it for different values of A. And we would also like to see how much is the difference between the two. That will give us an idea that this bound, this is a upper bound, no? Probability is always larger than 0. So this gives an upper bound on this probability. How good is this upper bound? How close it is to the value? So let us begin. First, we talk about the data set. We have 3 data sets and I have combined all of them. The first data set consists of 34 data points. The second consists of 35 and third consists of 33 data points. I have a weight also. Right now, I'm not going to worry about the data on weight. I'm going to consider only the data on height. Here I have a combined data, so all of them put together, I have 103 data points. Okay. Now, let us begin the demonstration. So first we will take one of the data sets. So let me take the first data set. So I select this data, 34 data points of height. I copy it and I paste it here. Okay, I paste it here. You see my 33 data points have come. I'm going to make some changes in this data. You see the Precision with which we can measure an height can go only up to 0.5, that is 1 decimal point. Here I have a data with 3 decimal points. This I doubt whether it can really be done. So I'll round it up to 0.4. Okay. So this data, I will round it up to 0.4. Okay. So here I have a data. Now we have to count how many times the value exceeds A. Here I have taken A as 174, some value. Okay. So I have taken it as 174. So let us do how to do this. So we calculate it this way. We say that equal to, we put a logical condition if the height is larger than or equal to this data, you call it 1. Otherwise, you say this variable is 0. Okay. Here it is greater than 1. So it has given 0. If I just copy it, it still gives me 1, which is not true. Why is this happening? Because if you look at this carefully, it is comparing it with this blank. We want it to compare always with 174. So some of you may be knowing that in Excel, if you want to fix the value only at one cell, you have to fix the cell by putting a dollar sign in front of it. So I will put a $D $1. And now if I copy it, it will give me correct answer. You see, every time it remains $D $1. And now I just copy it down for my 34 data points. And then what I do here is I find the probability. So I have to find the sum of these values, all 34 data points. You see, this is my sum. Complete the bracket and divide it by total number of data point, which is 34. So I get 0.4118. This is a big number. I think this numbers also we should consider only 2 decimal point. That is the right way to consider it. So this is 0.97. The ratio of expected value of X divided by A is 0.97, while the actual probability that we have calculated from the data is 0.41. So it is indeed smaller than that. But as I said, notice that it is much, much smaller than that. It is much, much smaller than that. So this is a bound, no doubt. But this bound is a very large bound. It doesn't give you any idea of any accuracy of the data. But it is a bound. It is generally we say it is less than 1. Instead, we are now saying that it is even less than 0.97. That much of accuracy it has brought. Let us try to change this number A. Suppose I make this A as, what shall we say, 177. Then the bound becomes smaller. This value also becomes smaller. Okay. Suppose I make this 180. The bound is further smaller. This value is also made smaller. If you make this value larger than the expected value, then the ratio is going to be more than 1. So it is going to be meaningless. So one thing we understand is that, let us try, 169 is there. So if I put 168 also, the ratio is 1 point something, and this value is 0.5, 0.6 roughly. But this makes no sense because any probability is always less than 1. So this whole scenario doesn't make sense. So this is useful when the A is at least larger than expected value of X. So this is the second thing we learn. So even if you put 171, you get some answer. And this answer is at least smaller than 1. Just to repeat the procedure, I will take another data set. Let us take this combined data set. Okay. So I take 103 points, copy, and I paste it somewhere here, say. I paste it here. Okay, see my 103 data points are pasted. And let us check out all the data points. See, again, we have this data, which is not very convincing. So I'll make it 0.4. Then even 2 decimal points, I'm not very sure which kind of measuring instrument can give you that. So I'll make it 0.8. I'm rounding it off. And let us see. These are also again 42. So we'll make it 0.4. And this is an important step. Okay. This is an important step because you must have data which makes sense. Otherwise, there is no point working with data. So particularly your significant digits, you should never forget to check. Then we apply the same thing. So here I say is equal to if this data point is larger than or equal to, now I'll be careful, I'll call it a $D, $1. So I'm selecting 171, the A value. If it is so, you call it 1, otherwise you call it 0. And then I copy, select all of it. If it is too large a data, there are other ways of doing it. You just paste it. Here you have the answer. Again, I say this is equal to sum of these values. This will be up to 100 and roughly 105 because we are 2 points below, divided by 103 total number of data points. Let us just make sure that we have selected all of them. So we can see it here. Yes, all the data points are selected and their sum is taken, and it is this. And let us make this equally bright and beautiful. So this is 14, make it bold. You see this value is also smaller than 28. This value is getting larger. You see here there is some change in it because the number of data point has increased. So it may get larger, but it is going to remain below 0.99. Again, you can see the same thing here. I make this change. This value goes down. This value also goes down. This value has also gone down. Okay. So what is the takeaway at the end of this demonstration? Number one, we can actually visualize the Markov's inequality here using the height data. And second thing we learned here is that it is a very large bound. It doesn't come anywhere close to this. This is the second thing we realized, but it is a bound. It is giving you something smaller than 1 to put a bound on. In this session, we would like to show a demonstration through an example of Chebyshev's inequality. First, let us see what is the inequality. The statement for the Chebyshev's inequality says that let x be any random variable with a mean value mu and a variance sigma square. Then for any value k greater than 0, probability that the difference between x and mu is greater than k, that probability is smaller than sigma square by k square. So what are we going to do? Let us proceed. For a random variable, we are going to consider the data that we have collected in the class for height of adult male and female in India. Okay, so here the expected value of x is roughly 169 centimeters. This I have got from the latest data collected on India average height by select city in 2019. So this is roughly the value. The standard deviation is not available in this particular data set. So it has been calculated through separate 2-3 sources, and it turns out to be roughly 7.5 centimeter. Now we are going to consider the data on the height collected from the class. So the random variable is the height of adult male and female in India, while we are going to consider the data, which is a height collected from the from our own class. What we have to do is we would like to find out the probability that x minus mu, the absolute value of x minus mu exceeding a given k value. To find this probability, we are going to take a ratio of number of times the difference between x and mu exceeds k divided by total number of data. And we would like to see if this value of probability turns out to be smaller than sigma over k whole square. We would like to check this for different values of k and try to understand Chebyshev's inequality. So let us see our data set. This is the 3 data sets that we have collected from the class. And here I have combined all of them. In all, it is 103 data points. Now, before we do anything, in this session, I would also like to explain to you that before you use any data set, it is a good idea to make sure that the data does not have any outlier and it is represented in correct units. So one way to do it is that we are going to take the data only on height, not on the weight. So we will take this combined data and we will just have plot a simple histogram. So I'm collecting this, I'm selecting this data. There's 103 data points, so all of them are there. And then I say insert, and I say histogram. And here I see a histogram. You see, here is an histogram. The most interesting part is that there is one data point which is sitting separately. All other data are sitting together. And this says that it lies between 396.78 and 414.78. So there is some very large data point, which is certainly cannot belong to the height that we are considering. So we have to locate it. And here, if you see it, this 33rd data point, you see, 33rd data point, I'll just make it bold. It says that somebody's height is 400 centimeters. This is quite absurd. So this is definitely an outlier. And we are going to remove this data when we use it. Right now in this data, I'm not going to touch it. And you can see that it has come from the first data set and it is showing here also. So when I do this, I will remove this particular data point when I do the analysis. So for that purpose, let us take the first data set itself. So I'm taking this data set and we will do the correction when we use it. Generally, please remember the original data set should never be touched. Whatever changes you want to make, you make it in a data set that you are going to work with. So I take this, copy this data set and I take it to the demonstration sheet. And first thing I do is I paste it. Okay, so I have my data set here. Here I have sort of made a preparation. I have written what is expected value of x or mu, which is 169 centimeters. I have put standard deviation as 7.5 centimeters. And for time being, I'm taking k as 10. And if you take this standard deviation and this k, the sigma over k whole square is turning out to be 0.56. There is no need to have so many decimal points. So we are going to make a change here. And I am going to use a function which will say that round off this figure to only one decimal point, or at the most you can have 2 decimal points because you are dividing and squaring it. So you can have 2 decimal points, and therefore we will look at it as 0.56. Okay. Now here we have a data. As I said, now we must make some corrections in the data. So first thing I am going to do is I am going to remove this data point. Okay. So I just delete this data point and I shift all cells up. But please remember, these numbers have got mixed up. So I have to now call this 33 and this 34. So I have 34 data points. Okay. Another thing I notice is that when you measure the height, how much of a precision your measuring instrument can have. It can measure up to 0.5, but you cannot go nearly to the third decimal point, and therefore I am going to correct this value to only 1 decimal point. So 0.376 I am going to make it, sorry, this 0.376 I am going to make. Why is it happening? I think I'm pressing a wrong button. I'm sorry. Yes, so it should be 0.4. Okay, so I'm manually correcting it. You can correct it by putting a round, you know what we did here. We used a function round here. You can do that as well. Now my data looks perfectly fine. So I start my procedure. I have to first find a difference between my data and its expected value or mean value mu. So it is an absolute difference. So I said equal to absolute this value minus the mean value. Okay. And please note that if I continue here, I'm going to get the same value as the value given here. It's because if you look at this function, it actually brings down this cell as well. So to avoid this, the way is we want to continue to work with B1. So we are going to call it a $B, $1 here when we subtract it, so that now when you do pull down, it comes to the same value. So now I can pull it down throughout for all the 33 or 34 values. Okay, so these are all my, the difference here, should I write down here? This is absolute difference between X and mu. You can insert a mu here, you know, if you insert a symbol here, you get a mu symbol, you insert, you close. This is the absolute value. Let us have one more line here so that, you know, it looks good. Now this looks much better. And I just take this, and I don't want to have any colors there, so I just that no fill, so it is only a gap. Now what we do, we have to calculate the probability. So in order to calculate the probability, I have to start counting as to how many of them are exceeding k. So I will say that is equal to if the difference, absolute difference, is greater than or equal to this k value, you say 1, otherwise you say 0. This is the easiest way to count it out. And remember, again, we don't want to change this value 10 for comparison. So here what we are going to do is this F1, I'm going to make it $F $1 so that it remains steady. It doesn't change. And then I just copy it down. Here I come. Now if I take sum of all of it, so if I want to find the probability, it is going to be equal to sum of all these 34 values. So wherever there is 1, it will be counted, all others will not be counted. And close the check here, I have enclosed the parenthesis and I'm dividing it by total number of data points, which is 34. And you see, this is the value. Again, I don't want such a huge value, so I'm going to say that round it off this value by 2 decimal points. So it is 0.26. And these are the values we want to compare. So I'm going to make this value red and I'm going to make it big. And this also I'm going to make it red. I'm going to make it big and bold. And this also I will give a background color yellow. So this is what we are comparing. So you see that Chebyshev's inequality says that the difference, the probability that x minus mu exceeds the given value k is less than or equal to the probability of sigma by k whole square. The probability is less than sigma by k whole square, and that is 0.56. So this is indeed smaller than that. Let us try to change this number 10. Okay. So for example, I make it 9. What happens? This is 0.69. This is 0.41. It is still the same. If I make it 8, this is coming close to half, but this is still larger than that. If you make it 7, it becomes absurd, you see, because this is 1 and any probability is always less than 1. So there is no point talking about the value being larger than the standard deviation. So here we have to consider larger value. For example, if I consider 15, we'll see that this gives a bound of 25% and it actually is 6% in this data. If you recall the demonstration that we gave in Markov's inequality, we found that the difference between the bound and the actual probability given was very large. Generally found all the bounds to be 98%, 93%, 95%. Here you see that the bound is coming closer to the value, and this is what is achieved by Chebyshev's inequality. I think you can carry it out. Shall we do it for one more data set? So let me pick data set 3. So I take this data set 3. There are 33 data points. So I copy and I paste it here. Just paste it. I once again check the data. You see here it is 2 decimal point. It is rather difficult to accept. Here there are 3 decimal points, but because it is 0.448, I'm going to make it 0.5. Okay, so I make the correction in the data set, and then I try to find the same thing. So I will say here, I can even do this. I can say that copy and I paste it here. And you will see that it is doing exactly the same thing. It subtracts the same thing from this value because I have taken it at the same distance. And then I can just pull it down for all the 33 values. And then actually this whole thing you can copy and just paste it here. And you see that this is 0.15 while this is 0.25. Now we can play around and see that in both, sorry, there will be one problem here. We have to divide by 33 and not 34. So let us make that correction. It will not make much difference. It hasn't made because we are rounding it off to 2 decimal points. So now you want to try and check for both of them. We can do that. If we take 10, this is 0.56, this is 0.26, this is 0.42, but still it is the same. If you do 9, you have the same, the relationship remains the same. the bound is nearer, and just for the sake of it, we can try for 8. It's the same, the bound remains there. So here, you can try it out for any data that you may collect. You can generate the data. You can try out this experiment, but this is how the Chebyshev inequality works. What are the takeaways from this demonstration? Number one, we can actually see from the data on height collected. You can try with the data on weight, no problem. Same way you can try it. So from the data collected, this is totally a random data collected from the population, and we have demonstrated that how the Chebyshev inequality works. This is part 1. The second takeaway is that compared to Markov's inequality, Chebyshev inequality gives a closer bound to the probability. Probability in many ways are very similar. You just think about it and check it out yourself. In this session, we are going to do an experiment to demonstrate weak law of large number. First, let us see the statement. The statement for weak law of large number says that let x1, x2, x3, etc., xn be n independent and identically distributed random variables with a common mean mu, and then for some given small value epsilon greater than 0, the statement states that probability that the difference between the average and the mean value of random variable is larger than epsilon, that probability tends to 0 as n becomes large. So in understanding is that as n becomes very, very large, probability that the sample mean x bar differs from the population mean mu by some small amount epsilon, that probability tends to 0. So how will we perform this experiment? Let us work it out. In this experiment, we are going to keep it simple. We are going to roll a die and note the value x. Die has 6 sides. So, and we assume that the die is fair. So each side can turn up, any side can turn up with probability 1/6. So we can say that probability of x is equal to I, for I is equal to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 is 1/6. Therefore, expected value of x can be found by formula as a summation I is equal to 1 to 6, I multiplied by probability of I, which is 1/6. So is equal to summation of I is equal to 1 to 6, I multiplied by 1/6, which is same as 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 plus 5 plus 6 divided by 6, which comes to 3.5. So in this experiment, the mean value of the population is mu, which is 3.5. Okay, now how are we going to perform this experiment? First, we are going to fix a value of epsilon. In this case, I have fixed it to 0.1. Then we are going to roll a die n is equal to 100 times. Remember, this n has to tend to infinity. So we will first start with n is equal to 100. We find an average, which is an x bar, and repeat the steps 1 and 2 more times, say about 12 times. Why are we doing this? Because we need at least some way to find a probability. Okay, so we take this, we repeat this step for 12 times. We calculate the absolute difference between the average x bar, that is for every of these 12 sets of 100 times rolled die, we will have an x bar. There will be 12 x bar and we have mu is equal to 3.5. So we will have a difference. We will find out the number of times the absolute difference has exceeded epsilon out of 12 trials. Say it has happened m times. Then P in the weak law of large number, that is, this probability in weak law of large number can be given by m divided by 12. We repeat the same procedure for n is equal to 300 and n is equal to 1000 and watch the value of p. As we understand, this p has to come closer and closer to 0. So let us start the experiment. We do it for n is equal to 100 first. First, let us begin by having all our parameters in the spreadsheet. So I say that insert a symbol mu for our population mean. I say mu is equal to, here in other thing I write 3.5. Okay, this is an important value. So I will just push it to the right. I'll select this two. I'll give it a dark color. I'll make it bold and I'll make it big so that we can see it. This is mu. Next value that we are interested is epsilon. So here, the epsilon is here. It is coming very small, but we will correct it. So epsilon is equal to, in the next, we have decided to keep it 0.1. Okay. And then again, we select the two. This we make it again colorful, dark, and big size, so that these are our values. This also we can push it to the right so that it looks good. Next, we have to now create, roll a die and generate what we have said, roll a die, n is equal to 100 times. How do we do that in a spreadsheet? It's very easy. You say that is equal to, you pick up a random number between, so it is rand between 1 and 6. So it picks up any value between 1 and 6 randomly with equal probability. So it is probability is 1 over 6. So here it has picked up 3. I have to generate such 100 things. So I have to go to the next stage. If I am here, I have to go to the 103rd cell. I select all of them. Sorry, let's go up. So I copy this and then I select, we are repeating it. We are repeating it for 103. We go to 103rd point, go to the top, come here and we say paste. So here we have got 100 data points, 100 times roll die data point. Now you see, if I just press and enter here, the numbers will change. So in order to store this number, we are going to select all of it, copy it, and we are going to paste it. So here is my first data set. I want to generate such 12 data sets. So I'll just copy and paste values so that these values, again, this has changed. So I just have to paste them 12 times. Then I get a 12 sets of 100 times roll dice. So here I have done 2. So this is 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Please remember, there is nothing holy about 12. There is nothing holy about 12. I have just chosen 12, and why you will see it now, because we have to calculate the probability, so I have chosen 12. So these are my 12 experiments of rolling die 100 times. Now, as per the weak law of large number, I need to have X bar. So I need to find the X bar value here. So I say that average from here till 103rd data point. Okay, so it gives me an average. And I can copy them all. Now you note this, that we have to worry about the decimal points. We know that because we are taking average over 100, it has given 2 decimal points. But as such, we are going to compare it, and it can have only up to 1 decimal point because the numbers are only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So there is no point talking about 3.45. So I'm going to round this off. So I will say that round. This is the average value I'm rounding off. So please note that I'm going back to this this value of average. I'm going to this bar and saying that round it off. I take the average formula and I want to round it off to 1 decimal point. So I get this, and then I copy it across. So I get everything in 1 decimal point. Okay. Now for my future calculation, I'm going to just copy this and paste it here special, because I'm going to paste its value. I don't want to paste the formula. Remember, each one of these is a formula. I don't want to paste the formula here. I want to paste the values, and I want to transpose it for my convenience. So I have all the average values here. Okay. So these are all my X bar values. Okay, I call it X bar values. Okay, now we have to find the absolute difference between X bar and mu. So I say it absolute is equal to absolute, and then I take a difference. So it is this value minus mean value, and I say enter. Okay, and then when I come here, you see I'm not getting the difference. It's, as I have said it in the previous demonstrations, I have to fix up, because every time I want to subtract this particular value, which is in the cell B1. So here I will say $B, $1, so that it always takes the same value, and I copy it for 12 times. And now, here also I have to make sure that the absolute difference is counted only up to 1 decimal point. So here also I will round it off the value to 1 decimal point. See, this is very important to know your numbers well. Whatever comes in spreadsheet, you have to put it in the order the way you want it. And now we have to count the probability. So number of times it has exceeded 0.1. Okay, if you go to here, it says that number of times it exceeds epsilon. So we have to come here and we have to count number of times it has exceeded 0.1. So we will do it in this way. We say that is equal to if the absolute difference is greater than this particular value, you call it 1, otherwise you count it 0. Okay. Again here, we want to compare it with only this cell value. So we are going to call it $E, $1. Okay. And then just pull it down, copy it down. And now the probability in the weak law of large number is equal to number of times the 1 has occurred. So we can say that sum is values divided by how many times we have done it? We have done it 12 times. So we divide it by 12. So probability is 0.25. So let us say this is P is equal to 0.25. I will make this, we will make it colorful because this is what we have to remember. So I will make it looking red. We will make it big size. We will make it bold and we'll give it a color yellow. So now we have to see this value for different values of n. What we did here will automatically get repeated in the next time. So let us now perform the experiment for n is equal to 300. So let us begin. So I go to the next sheet, and this decoration remains the same. So I just copy and I paste it here so that I have my values ready. Now I have to generate the values 300 times, right? So I say that is equal to rand between 1 and 6. So I get some random value. I say copy. Now I have to paste it all the way up to 300 data points. So that will be 303rd cell. So I am at the cell A5. I will go straight from here to cell 303. Okay. So here it is. From here I will select all of them up to top and I'll say paste. So it has pasted all the value. 300 values are pasted. Now, as it keeps changing, we are going to now generate such 12 sets. So I again say copy. I'm using Control C here. Then we go to the top. And here we start pasting 12 times. We paste values. We don't want to paste the function. So we are pasting the values here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Again, I say there is nothing holy about 12. We are using 12 for our convenience. This time, arbitrarily, I have chosen 12. There is nothing random about it. Similarly, epsilon is chosen arbitrarily. And our 12 is also chosen arbitrarily. You can have it more than 12, less than 12 here, no problem. Now we try to find an average. You see, I will do the same thing here. I'll just pick this up. I'll just copy this. And I'll paste it here. You see, that is where I have my advantage. I'll paste them here. But remember that these are all going to be up to 103. So I will change this to 303. Okay. And then I will, it is all rounded, etc. So all my job is done. Then I just copy and I value paste it as transpose. So I do a special pasting. Okay. Now I can also take this functions here. I can copy them and simply paste them here. It's completely, and you see the probability has already become 0.08. You see here the probability was 0.25. In 300 itself, we are starting going to close to 0. Let us repeat this for n is equal to 1000. Let us repeat this for n is equal to 1000. So we start. We do the same decoration here. So I just copy and paste my value. You see, when I paste, you see that I'm pasting a general paste. So it is pasting with respect to the same colors and same font arrangement. Now here, somehow it is not showing me the pasting, but it is okay. We are at this cell, it shows me here, and I say that is equal to rand between 1 and 6. Okay, so it generates 1. I copy it, and then I want to select. So I go to straight away. Now I want to select 1000 data points. So I have to go to 1003. And then I go to the tops up to select. And I say paste. Okay, this is not got pasted, so I paste it here also. So I got all the numbers. Now I select all of them. I copy. I go to the top and I paste them 12 times, value paste. So I say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. Okay. And then what I do is I take the same average formula, I copy it, and I paste here. But remember that here you have done it for only 303. This is, you don't even have to remember. If you look at it carefully, here in the corner some little green stuff comes. That shows that you have not used complete data. So here you can, it sort of gives you a reminder that something is not correct. So you can write 1003 and you can copy it through. So you get all the values. We copy and we copy paste special, we copy values and we copy transpose. We get this. And then we go here, we copy this and we paste it here. And bang, you have a probability 0. So it is a good demonstration. We are coming exactly to 0 when n is very large. And we could see that it was happening when p is equal to p is coming to 0.08 when n is actually 300. When n is 100, it is 0.25. So you can see that as n turns very large, this probability tends to 0. And we found in our case, when n is 1000, we have already reached 0. It would be nice if you can try out for n is equal to 500, n is equal to 700. Not even that, instead of taking 12, you take 10, you take 5, you can take 15, and you can see how it makes a difference. But this is a good demonstration. I hope you all enjoyed it. This is very simple. Now that you are generating a number through rand between, you can also take a number between 1 and 10 and repeat the experiment. The average value will be 5.5 and you can take different epsilon and you can work it out. So I hope you all enjoyed it. Thank you very much.